Hello, everyone. How is everybody tonight? Woo! Yeah, everybody's so excited.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah, same. Okay. So, hello. We know my name, Amanda. Hello. Thank you guys for coming out. I know it's probably a hard time right now in the semester. I know I'm struggling. It's great. We love it. So one word that's really been on my mind right now is rest. Trying to take some time, and not just in my mind, but also in God's will that He has for me to just take some time to rest and take a break. That's what I've been doing on the weekends, kind of just like relaxing in Him and making sure that I know that this plan is something He has for me. So it might suck right now. It's kind of hard, but I know it's what He wants for me to do. So tonight we have the Family Resource Center ladies, the brilliant and young ladies.
Yes.
From
We like those adjectives.
There you
Young.
go. From Wilmore and Red Oak, and I'll let them introduce themselves when they come up here. So I do have a quick question before we get started. So we don't really have a scheduled TEL meeting for next month. I don't know if any of you all remember last year for Christmas, we kind of got together and watched a movie, decorated cookies. Not a lot of people came, that's okay. But I was talking to Dr. Ryle, and he said that he thinks it would be a really good idea if we did that again. Now I know you all that are APS, I know I'm not gonna like say, you better be there to make these cookies. But if you all think that's a good idea, just let me know, or Dr. Ryle, just let somebody know, and we'll take care of that, okay? I'll start off with a quick word of prayer, and then we'll get started. Dear Lord, thank you for this day that you've given us. I thank you for the idea of rest and resting in you. Lord, I ask that you let tonight be a moment for us to reflect and to understand more of what you have for us and what you have for this big plan for us. It's in your name we pray. Amen. All right. You want to come up already?
Good evening.
Hey,
I recognize a few of you all from Wilmore. Maybe two of you are at Wilmore right now? You're at Wilmore right now? Cameron's at Wilmore right now, right? Are you a student teaching at Wilmore? Or go to class?
The three of us are
All three of you?
Yeah.
Okay, see? I'm not completely crazy. My name is Mandy Hopgood. I'm the Family Resource Coordinator here at our elementary school. And this is my second year doing that. So Carlola and I have a wide variety of experience, but day in and day out, we do a lot of the same things. So we decided we would start with, I'm going to give you kind of the day in the life of a Family Resource Coordinator. But also, as I typed that sentence out, I realized that that's a complete lie, because there's no exact day. In fact, there's never a day that's exactly the same, which is probably why I appreciate the job so much. I think we have the best job in the school. I really admire you guys for being teachers. That's not my calling for a few different reasons, but I think I have the best gig. I have to have different kids in and out all day long. I have adult interaction, and I also have kiddo interaction. So we deal with the highs and the lows, but it makes each day really fun. So let's see. Start of the day usually is around 7:30 in the morning, and I come in, and some days I have a morning duty is what we call that. And my favorite, and I would say the most effective for me, is my front door duty. So Monday mornings at 7:30, you will find me at the front doors of Wilmore, and my job there is to greet all the kids. So as the Family Resource Coordinator, I don't just greet the kids. Of course, I'm examining everything when they walk in. Make sure they have a coat on. Make sure they haven't come out crying when they're getting out of the car. Everything like that. I make sure that they know that breakfast is still open, so that they're nice and fed. Because the actual job description, and correct me and throw things in here, is that we're removing non-educational barriers for these kids. So we want this little guy to come in and be able to learn the same as this little guy. This one lives in a nice 2-income family home. This one does not have any of those things. So we want to make sure that he's fed at home, at least he's fed at school. We want to make sure that they both have beds to sleep in. So that's part of our morning duty, is just kind of to put our eyes on kids and to listen. So after that, I'm also like the security guard at the school. And I do not look for conflict, but I also don't typically back down. So I'm the rule follower. I our school, and you can tell what yours does. There's set times from about 7:50 to 8 o'clock. We allow parents to walk their kids to their classrooms if they'd like. Some parents actually do walk their kids to the classroom every day of the school year until they're in 5th grade. But, it's my job to make sure they're in and out in a timely manner so that we can start as close to 8 o'clock as we can. After that, I usually will hang out in the office for about 15 minutes, and that again is just to catch those kids that are coming in late. So if I call, my kids, the ones that I usually have on my radar, I always make sure they've had breakfast before they go to class. As I do not have a social work degree, but as the school social worker, I'll make sure that they've had breakfast. I make sure that their parents appear to be in good working condition, and that the kiddos look like they've had a decent night's sleep, and see if I can do anything to help get their day going correctly. After that, I just put as a little side note, 8:15 is usually coffee time, because depending on how the morning has gone, coffee's always good. But after that, we're going to follow up on emails from yesterday and the night before maybe, and then all of a sudden here comes one and he's had an accident. And I would say in an elementary school, I probably have an accident a day, I would say. So we're typically going through between 5 and 10 full outfits, including underwear, a week. So where do you get most of your donations from?
From the local churches.
Yeah, churches. So churches, lots of families, I think everyone in Wilmore cleaned out their closets over fall break. So that was a really good problem to have. My room is still stuffed with a few trash bags. But so we go through lots of clothing for accidents. Anytime a student gets blood, like from a bloody nose on their shirt, they send them straight to us for clothes. Or if teachers will just send, call us up and say, I'm sending somebody down. And they will usually tell me, like, if they need just some clean clothes, if they maybe had the same shirt on for a few days in a row, things like that. After that, it looks like we're going to go on a home visit because the student has described some living conditions to their teacher, maybe not the ideal. So I thought this might be a good time when we could tell a couple of stories of home visits. There's been good and bad. I've walked into situations where I thought this is not going to go well. I don't even want to do this. Also, side note, we don't ever do them alone. We always take somebody with us, and whether that be a teacher, oftentimes it's a guidance counselor that'll come with me. And then just for safety, we always tell the secretary or someone else the address of where we're going. So I've gone into situations where I thought it was going to be terrible and walked in, and the kid just doesn't have a whole lot of reality. Maybe they're watching something on TV and they expect life to be like this, and it's just regular, and that's okay. Also been in situations where we've walked in and there have been holes in floors, windows busted out, dog and cat urine and feces on floors.
I think that home visit that stuck out for me the most, and I had someone shadowing me today, so this is the second time I've told this story. I think when we sit in a classroom, our book knowledge is really good, but each and every one of us came from a home. We grew up in a home, and that typically becomes the gauge and the scale by which we measure other homes. And some of us might have grown up in homes that some of us look at and go, woo, that's a mansion. Or some of us grew up in trailer that was a double wide with a very meticulous mom. And I think one of the difficult things about what we do and what you guys are getting ready to embark on is you've got to kind of put everything that is your own personal stuff out. I did a home visit because a teacher reported that there was an infestation of mice, according to the student. A mouse. They had a mouse. So, like, I did not grow up like the area of Jessamine County where I live now. I live out on High Point Golf Course. Woo-woo. And it's still very much a country club because we are still in Jasmine County, ladies and gentlemen. And I have a mouse because we have built big homes on top of where the mice live. And so the reality of what the child tells you, the filter with which you filter that information, you've got to take all of that into consideration before you walk into a home and plan to do a DCBS referral on the fact that there was a mouse that couldn't get out of the bathtub. It is not an infestation. It's a mouse in the bathtub.
So you will have visits from each end of the spectrum, I promise. Do it probably even for a year, you'll have each end of the spectrum. So, let's see, after our home visit, I'm gonna start popping popcorn, okay? That's the glorious part of my job. I'm telling you guys all the nitty gritty, the really important stuff and the not so important stuff. Another job of most family resource coordinators, I assume, and definitely mine, is school attendance. So important, and you guys know as teacher candidates that you can't teach them if they're not in school. And we have some that are, it's just bad, like every other day, gone for a week or so at a time and nobody hears anything. That's oftentimes where the home visits will be initiated because we can't get a hold of anybody at the home for a few days in a row. But part of the popcorn, just as an incentive for our students this year, every 10 days their classroom gets perfect attendance where they get a popcorn party on a Friday afternoon. So it's just our way of just trying to entice them about being at school, because we know that that's the single most important part, is just getting them there in the first place. And for our kids that maybe don't have wonderful home conditions, like that school that's their safest place they can be. So we want them there every single day. After we start popping popcorn, then I have some 4th and 5th grade students who come to me. They get a snack every Monday, or if they get one for each day. So some classrooms do have a specific snack time, and if the families are not able to give them snack on their own, then they can come to see me. Now, I have often had to correct everyone, so this is not because you forgot your snack one day. Darn it, forgot my snack, I'm gonna go see Ms. Hopgood. I have taught them that this is really for the families that really can't provide it on their own. So I do have 4th and 5th grade students, so I probably give out roughly 50 snacks per week, so individual snacks. So community partners will fund that for me oftentimes, and sometimes they'll get some donations from parents. And we're gonna gather information after that. That's all before 10 o'clock in the morning. At 10 a.m. it's grant writing year. So I'm actually, if you don't mind, I'm gonna put you on the spot. This is my first time writing our grant, so I'm gonna ask Carlo to tell you about the grant writing part of FRC.
Awesome.
Sorry, I didn't tell you about that part.
You're quite all right. I am Miss Carlola, and I get to serve as the Family Resource Director at Red Oak Elementary School. It's 7 years old, and one of the things about the grant writing process that I find really unique for us is that we live in this year, we report on the year that's passed, but we are creating a grant for the next 2 years. And so it makes you think about, what am I doing currently that I want to continue to do? What really fell apart last year that we don't want to repeat? And what are the kind of things that we want to do for families that will move them further along? So our grant is actually based on a group of individuals that we never get to know who they are. It's based on free and reduced lunch numbers, and that's considered a stigmatizing type of label. And so Mandy and I do not know who we are supposed to be servicing. And Jasmine County is a very unique gift in that arena, because all of our principals will look at us and say, no, you take care of everybody. And so regardless of their financial status or standing, they get taken care of. And so we write our grant based on the components that touch each and every aspect of their life. So we are in an elementary school, but we also are responsible for programming for ages 0 to 5. So one of the reasons that our home visits are so important is because we're not going to see those 0 to 5ers unless we have their siblings in our walls. And so the good thing about our grant this year that we're kind of adapting, I didn't really think it was a good thing when we got the standard, a whole new set of standards to combine with our components, because I really feel like the grant is daunting enough. But our county is doing a graduate profile, which means at age 0 to 5, we are looking for gaps in the services of Jessamine County schools and daycares. And so what are the children 0 to 5 getting? And then when they get to the early learning village, which we are fortunate enough to have in one location, the FRC there and her coordinator, we work hand in hand with them to identify sibling populations, and they handle the pre and the K. And so our grant is made up of components that address 0 to 5, kindergarten and pre, and then we are responsible for the 1 to 5. And we write that based on the health component of the children, the social component of the children, the family relationship and growth of the family itself, which ultimately affects the children, which is my biggest struggle, because I sometimes have, well, no, not sometimes, I often have very different philosophies about family and raising children than some of my families have. And one of the things, my background is I started out in youth and family ministry, saw that I was really confronting a lot of things in the church where I was ministering. And so I went back and got my master's in psychology and psych. So I ended up doing the next 20 years at the hospital, at the psychiatric hospital and chemical dependency hospital. I had keys, I was not a patient, although some days it was doubtful. And so that's how I ended up in the school world. But the writing of the grant has to address each individual component, and then we're expected to meet those standards at every turn. It's really daunting, but it's equally exciting as well.
So this is my first time writing the grant. We have to write it that's our halfway point.
Yeah.
We have
Prepare
to write it every 2 years. And that's actually how our programs are funded. That's how our salaries are paid.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we have money for the school. That is the way we get state funding dollars to be presence in the school. So we'll see how grant writing year 1 goes. But
It will go well for you.
thankfully,
It will.
we all work together.
Yes.
So I don't have to do it alone.
No.
So after we start our grant writing information session, then of course we're going to deliver that popcorn to classes. So we're on the move all the time, all day, which is another reason why I really love this job. Up and down, because I don't like to sit for very long. That's why I'm not going to make you sit for very long. After that, we have to load the van full of canned goods because I was in charge of a canned food drive this last couple weeks. And so we'll put hopefully thousands of cans and other foods, items into a school van. I'll take my 5th grade leadership students with me, and we're going to deliver it down here to Wilmore Presbyterian Church. And we will stock their shelves. And then on Saturday, lots of families that I have referred from the school, and then any other family in Wilmore that needs a little extra help on Thanksgiving, they'll come and get a whole Thanksgiving food box. So that's the other part of some things that we do with holiday assistance. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit too. Lunch, hopefully that happens. I usually try to make sure that I get a little bit of lunch because everybody needs a little bit of downtime. But I'm thankful that my office is usually the gathering place, so I get to have some community at that point. Shortly after lunch, though, it is math night coming up in a few weeks, and as a family resource coordinator, it says family in it, so family math night is on our job description as well. So part of my duty at our school as the FRC, and then as well as our Title I representative, which it all involves parent engagement. So anything that brings the families into the educational process, that's me as well. So we're planning math night with games, flyers, prizes, food, volunteers, all that is typically on the family resource as well. After that, we're going to contact all those families that needed holiday assistance. There's usually around 35 or so families that contact me each year for that. After that, we're going to pretend like it's Friday and it's time to deliver food bags. So I have roughly 42 kiddos that take home food every Friday. And that is just a little bit of help to get them through the weekend when they're home, because we had talked about this, but every elementary and middle school in Jessamine County is free breakfast and lunch every day. So, but we do worry about those kiddos whenever they go home for the weekend. So they take a food bag full of mostly microwavable or easy snack type things that they can fix on their own. After we get all those passed out, we're going to start car lane as well. If you had to put your FRC goggles on, no matter what your job duty is. So you're making sure the kids get in the right car with the right people. Make sure that everything looks good when they're getting in. Not the cleanliness of the car, because sometimes mine don't pass that. After that, I'm going to head into the office, because if there's any kiddos left that were not taken by bus or that someone didn't come pick them up, I usually try to put it on myself to try to figure out how they're getting. The secretary and I will figure out how they're getting home, why they weren't picked up if they were supposed to be picked up. And I threw something extra in, because we also have to have an advisory council, which consists of 4 community members. A third of your council must be community members, a third is school staff members, and a third of your committee is parents. So I'm going to have an advisory council meeting this day as well at 4 o'clock, just to go over everything FRC related. And that's going to end my day on that day. So now Ms. Carlo is going to fill you in on all the other FRC.
I made a quick flyer to hand out to you. I'm just gonna give you a little bit. I got monitored this year, and in addition to writing the grant, the next daunting thing that if you want to hand those back, the next daunting thing that can be done to you is that you get monitored by the state. I have been FRCing for 10 years now. I started off at Wilmore Elementary School, where Mandy is, and then when that principal opened Red Oak Elementary School, Red Oak is that far from where I live, so I traveled with her over to become the Family Resource Center there. There are like 3 things that I really want to drive home as far as our FRC role and the roles that you will eventually be playing in the school system. One, we have to be a part of a team. The babies you love are the babies that I love as well, and probably the babies you don't like on some days are the babies I don't like either. We have to be able to tag on those type of scenarios. Like I was saying with the grant, with Mandy, we operate on a percentage of our poverty children. That's where we get our funding from, but we're not allowed to know who those kids are. One of the things that I have learned about Jessamine County is basically because Jessamine County is in the United States of America, we don't see real poverty here. There are pockets of poverty in each county in the state of Kentucky, but for the most part, there are places. There's the school, like Mandy was telling you. We have just gone to Everybody Eats Breakfast for free, and we stand at the door and encourage that, regardless of whether you got up with a mommy that makes you oatmeal and toast, or you got up with a mommy that's just pushing you out the door and you don't even have your other shoe. So those kind of dynamics happen. But poverty, definition of poverty, is not always based on the environment in which you grow up in. My thought on that, and again, I come from the background of church, to a psych hospital, and now to the school. And I'll tell you, everybody looks like all of y'all. I mean, there's no difference. From if I was running a psych group, it would look like you guys. If I was doing a parent group, it would look like you guys. If I was doing a devotion, it looks like you guys. We're all in this together. And so the thing that sticks out the most for me in the relationship that we have to have is we are seeing more and more a poverty of parent responsibility and parental support, and parents raising their children in their homes and taking those responsibilities. More and more is going to be placed on you as a teacher. More and more is placed on us as family resource. So you have poverty. It's just not the kind of poverty that we tend to look at. The bag that Mandy just described for you, that is not nutrition. It's not nutrition. It's kid-friendly food because a parent won't fix, because a parent is absent. That is the kind of poverty that I believe we are inheriting from what's going on in our world today. There is a food bank here, so there's no reason for anybody to be physically hungry here in Jessamine County, because we can point you to umpteen resources, and you can walk from place to place and get yourself a free meal most every day of the week. Okay, so poverty, no. Parental poverty, yes. So that puts an additional weight on you as a teacher, because you will be expected to work with those kids. The groups that I lead, a lot of that is because of my psych background, but the groups that I lead are about resiliency and teaching you how to never give up, teaching you how to identify the skills that you have as an individual. I do have an attendance group. Like Mandy said, if they're not in our school, we can't feed them and we can't teach them. So attendance is a big group for me. But my other one is basically all surrounding anxiety and the choices that these kids have to make and battle based on their home life. And so those are the kind of things that I want to stress to you, because the intern that shadowed me today, she was like, if you could teach a course on anything, what would you teach today? Because you don't, like, I would love for you guys to go on home visits with us. I think that would be an educational experience, because like I was saying before, I don't know how you grew up. I don't know how you grew up. I have no idea. I know the way I grew up, and I know the homes that I go into. And some of them I go, oh my word. Now that explains why they've got cats, and those cats pee on the baby's coat because the baby's coat is on the floor and the cat is in charge of whatever's on the floor. And once you get into the home, you look at your kids, I think, a lot differently, because you go, well, that explains that, you know? And I really like I would really like to think that you guys could come to my house and it would be, oh so okay with you. But there's, I grew up in a home where you could eat off of my mother's toilet. She was so OCD about everything. And I will admit to you, I swore that was not the way I was going to grow up. So I can't even remember the last time, never mind. Anyway, but those are the kind of things. So if I were going to teach a course, I would like to teach a course of what do you know about you? And what are your, bias is not the word, but how were you flavored that is going to flavor how you look at every child? Because it is my firm belief that every parent in this county that sends a baby to me every morning at Red Oak Elementary, they send me the best that they've got. And I have to look at that child as if it's the best that they've got. We also have to do that kind of dance of working with the families and confronting issues. Because I come from the psychiatric and chemical dependency background, one of the things that I have to watch about myself is I am not going to become your professional enabler. You are not going to come to me every month for your electric bill. I am not your mother, and we are not the bank. And I have $2.08 in my Red Oak Family Resource Center budget that has to get me from here until the end of the year before I start asking people for help in that center. So I don't have the opportunity to buy or pay for everybody's electric bill. I know that's important. And those are difficult conversations to have with parents who have been set up in a society that, I'm sorry, we have created. And again, this is Carla talking now. I'm not representing Jessamine County Schools in any way, shape, or form. Let me just put that disclaimer out there. But we have created, if you have it and I need it, you are to give it to me, society. And my background is of such that I'm not going to enable you to become that spiral that just needs. Here's where it stops, and let's figure it out. Do you have a budget? Do you have the resources to develop a resume? Do you know how to job search? Do you know how to get the resources for your family? Because I don't want any baby hungry. I don't want any baby cold. So see, you do that delicate balance of, do I pay the electric bill so that the baby doesn't freeze and I rescue the mom and the dad one more time, but they've got their nails done and their hair's did and their cell phones and all of those kind of things. It is a delicate balance. And if you don't know how you feel about those things, this job that you're getting ready to go into can be very difficult because you want to teach, right? You want to teach. You want them to get skills that will help them with their life. But a lot of what we're seeing in the school these days is that you've got to get all this other stuff out of the way that Mandy and I are working on so that you can have the minds of the children in front of you. I think that's the hardest thing about going into education today. And I would have a class on just knowing who you are and what you expect a home to look like and how much you're going to have to lay down to get away from those expectations. Do you guys have, I don't want to just stand up here and talk, I gave you a sheet in front of you. The front of that sheet is a quick reference to those are the programs that I actually run out of Red Oak Elementary. Not all of my babies have fathers, so we developed Red Oak Men. It's for mentor, encourage, and nurture. In order to get positive male role models into the building. You do not have to be a daddy in order to participate in that. You can be a high school student that comes over and mentors. Right now I have a West Jessamine High School student that I've got a 5th grader that's just making every poor choice he could possibly make. I feel like he's done it all in the last month because there are things that are going on in his home that have kind of gotten him out of kilter. And so we brought over, a really cool guy that we know from Wilmore Elementary, and have set up a mentoring opportunity for that young man. In elementary school, I feel like we get the opportunity to make a lot of changes. I don't know what level of school you're going into, whether you're going primary, secondary, or even if I'm using all the right words for that, but their personalities are formed by the time they're 5 years old, and that's about the time we get them, and we have about 5 years there before we introduce them to real world, real life. Some of the babies that are in our walls have already had real world and real life scenarios, and we try to make that a softer place for them to land. On the back sheet are just services that and things that we can do and that we have resources for in our communities or within our grasp. Do you guys have questions? We'd love to answer questions. Yes, ma'am.
Do you all do all the home visits for the entire school?
Actually, no. We kind of get to be the good cop to the bad cop kind of people. Like if they're involved in truancy and we're doing a home visit, this is the way it is at Red Oak. Do you have to be bad cop? You don't, do you?
Not typically.
At Red Oak, like if there's a truancy issue, I might go out with the officer because I've got the relationship for the family, and they typically won't shoot the person that's giving them their groceries, but they might shoot the truancy officer. Just kidding. Not really, but just kidding. Yeah. We do not do all of them. We accompany pretty much everyone that happens, but it's not our responsibility. At Wilmore, I had a first grade teacher who did a home visit to all of her new
She still does.
incoming students. I rode with Miss Moss on most of those because we work during the summer.
I was just
We're
curious, at the
240s.
school that I'm at, each teacher is required to do at least 5.
Oh, what?
Wow. So I wasn't sure if it was like
Where are you?
2nd Street Elementary in Frankfort, Kentucky.
Awesome. I
But we're
love that.
also a K through 8 school,
Uh-huh.
so
You're gonna have
some
them.
of them, some of the resource center is for Belleville too.
Uh-huh.
So I
See,
wasn't
no.
sure if every school teachers had to do home visits or if it was a
We don't
unique situation.
Yeah, we don't require any teachers at Wilmore to do them. A lot of times they will, or they'll be willing to go with me. A lot of times, most of the time it's the counselor and I that go because we're always teaming up and working on the same things. But it can be something as simple as, like our school psychologist asked me to go with her because we really needed this parent to sign a
Paperwork.
form because we needed to get this kiddo in testing. So it's, easy things like that, or
The flavors of our school tend to take on the approach of the principal. Now, our principal requires every teacher to have a face-to-face meeting wherever that takes you. Like, if you want to have it at the school, you have it at the school. If they don't have transportation, then I can go get them and bring them to the school, or we can get in the car and go to the house. So a lot of it just factors out into what works best for everybody that's involved. So home visits are my favorite. You learn so much from start to finish. And if you're going on a home visit, always have doggy treats in your pocket, or I have a console that runs the length of my door because dogs need to be distracted at times, and don't roll up in there and think that all of them are nice and friendly. So always have a doggy treat, and that'll at least do something for you. Wasp spray is also pretty good to carry in your console.
Can I have?
Yes.
So
Or you could have-
I did home visits my entire time teaching. I mean, it was just, that's what I did. That was just
Love it.
how I worked. But I will say as women, probably, and also men, but mostly women, you want to be really, really careful depending on where you're going.
Mhm.
And take somebody with you. So I always had somebody with me when I would go on home visits.
Mhm.
It's just, you have to be really careful, but it's so, you have this wonderful relationship with the families. I didn't worry about the families, I just worried about the people, other people, maybe,
Right. Because nobody, I mean, like we wear our badges pretty much everywhere, but our badges look like DCBS badges, which looks like all kinds of other badges, and there still is pretty much a stigma around that. Having done 20 years in the psych hospital, I'm really scared of many people.
Well, I wasn't really worried either,
But-
but there were places where I went where,
Yeah, you don't know what's around you, and you don't know if the people that are around you think you're coming for them or for their neighbor. So it can get dicey, but
most of the
don't be
time-
afraid.
I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah.
I was just saying, just to be, think
The
about.
rule is 2 people always, but you pull your car in and you point it facing out, doggy treats and wasp spray, and then you're conceal and carry if you're.
I would definitely recommend, like, she was telling you that we have a teacher, her name is Miss Moss, but she does see every student before the school year starts. And she calls it a front porch visit.
It's precious.
She does not invade their privacy. She'll tell them, I'm not coming in your home, so it does not have to be stressful for you. But man, it gives so much perspective even before they walk into your building. Because we had a family, last year that we ended up putting in a hotel for 2 weeks, because their living situation was so poor. And so it took a little bit for me even to get teachers to understand, like, they're in your classroom today and that is all you can expect from them today.
That's it.
Like, that's it. You can't, we need to still help them with some standards. We want them to succeed still, but they're here, that's good. Like, that is all we can literally expect. And I do think that if you would just see some of the situations before you even lay eyes on the kiddo, that it might break your heart.
Yeah.
But
'Cause a
you'll-
part of what-
you'll also know where they're coming from.
Yeah, a part of the expectation of being a teacher is that you've got to have a lesson plan, and when you typically say the word plan, you tend to want to work that plan, and when you involve 30 itty-bitties into your plan, sometimes your plan doesn't go as planned. It just doesn't happen. And that's where I think it's good to have a resource for us. Could you take, like, you can't do it all. You're 1 to 30. You're 1 to 30. So you've got to develop your resources. And it'd be wonderful if they all walked in and sat down and knew how to sit down or be in their, or that they weren't. That's the reality of schools that you're going into. You'll get a flavor of that. I've been saying flavor a lot. I wonder if I'm hungry. You'll get a piece of that when you do your student teaching. You'll get to see what classrooms are like, won't you?
Any other questions?
Anything else?
So because we haven't been like officially a teacher yet, but like when we get a job like over the summer or wherever, we'll get a list with all the students' addresses and like contact information, so like we can contact the parents to go visit the home.
So every school's different.
Mhm.
Some schools will, ours, we have a leadership team. It's the principal, the assistant principal, the counselor, and I. We place kiddos in certain classes based on a variety of different things. This one shouldn't be with this one. This one does really well if they're paired with this kid. For the longest time at Wilmore, that was done in the middle of the summer. We switched it up last year. Oh, man.
We are so over.
And we did that at the end of the school year, like in April. So it was done earlier. So the teachers at that point had their class list at the beginning of the summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we used to follow that philosophy. We used to do it in midsummer. It gave us an opportunity to all come back together, but we switched that up too. And now ours are typically done before the end of the school year because we use the teaching team from the previous year to create the classrooms for the teaching team the next year, so that they have a chance to talk and go, no, that's not good, or that, this is the group that I love. We've got some teachers that love the bad kids, the kids that have my heart, that are gonna struggle, that need that positive influence, and they will just thrive like that. So different times, different years, but we've
also
started
now
placing.
We send them home, the letters home with their class for the next year, with the last day of school, mostly because it costs almost $400 to mail out all those letters. So
Yeah.
that was another reason, just
Yes.
honesty.
Money has become a big,
But yeah, you will, ahead of time, you will know every student's name and you will have access to their address and all that.
Okay.
Anybody else?
it was fun to be with you. Thank you so much for letting us come. Don't clap, no money. I got $2.08. Just kidding. If you don't want those resource sheets, I'll take them back up. If you want to keep them to know what we do or ask questions about later, they're all yours. Okay? Thank you so much.
Okay, so like I said at the beginning of the meeting, we don't necessarily have a official December TEL meeting. Like I said, if you all think that we should do the cookies, watch a movie, please let me know as soon as you think it's a good idea. Or if you don't think you'd make it, whatever, just let me know your opinions on it, please. So yeah, can we give them another?
Yes.